All right, guys, can we stop calling it macro development when we're building code in Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, Visio, Access? On the developer tab of all of the Microsoft products, you do have this macro button, and it will show you the public routines or public functions that don't have any parameters, but they're not necessarily macros. They're either a public. Typically, they're either a public routine or a public function without parameters. So if I come into this project and I add a module and I say public sub test, it will now show up in my macros. If I were to add a parameter to this, this should no longer show up in my macros. Typically, when you think of a macro, you are thinking of someone recording a macro. So, they're typically going here, they're, you know, doing something. And then Microsoft never really updated the whole macro record feature. So all the code is wrong. So should never use, or I shouldn't say never, but it's rare that you would use the select statement. You also would not want to use active cell. You typically would want to frame this out like this. And this is not even a formula, this is just text. So we could say value. And typically, I would also qualify this with, at the very least, the sheet object. You could also get crazy and say this workbook dot sheet object. Or if you want to, you could rename your this workbook object to something smaller. So we can say workbook this, and now you have access to both. You don't lose access to this workbook, but you can also refer to this also. Yeah, so this is all wrong. So, when I talk to recruiters and they're insistent that I add the word macro to my resume, this is what I think of. You know, we're only concerned with the routines, the classes, um, the forms, and that's it. We have to stop. We've got to stop using the word macro.